All right, good afternoon, everybody. Wall Street Jesus here, and we got a post-game show on Tuesday. Talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the markets. Today, we're going to focus, as I mentioned before we started recording the webinar here, I'm going to focus a little more time on questions. I'm seeing some decent questions out there. So again, if you're just coming in, anything you have on your mind, I'm not just talking about individual names and what type of action they're catching. How does Micron look 50 sweepers deep? Strategy, flow, sentiment. That's what it's all about. It's never about the symbol. Stock is just a stock. We'll get into that a little bit more too. We were talking about that today in the room. All right, so let's touch very quickly on what we're seeing in the markets, both in flow and sentiment and rotation, because I think that's another very important factor that we weren't seeing in the correction type environment we were in, and we're starting to see now, and why that could be a huge positive. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll dive into some of your questions. All right, so what we got going on here now, I think, is a focus on individual names, okay? And what I mean by that, we were in a market that was highly correlated. In other words, everything was moving up and down together, okay? And when you get into a corrective phase like we were in, okay, off news or whatever the case may be, sometimes it's just because a market needs to correct and wash out, bullish extreme. What happens is, the individual name order flow becomes the least important, at least less important. And we spoke about that numerous times, right? Just because XYZ catches a call buyer, if the market is selling and the rest of that group or the names in the marketplace are catching put action and protective order flow, it's really hard to try to plan for that one name to buck the trend and go higher when everything else is pushing lower and the momentum is lower. Okay, so that's where it presents a problem for any individual name outperformance. You're not going to really find it there, or you can't really rely strongly on finding it there. Okay, and then what happens once you come out of that corrective phase? Okay, you get a rally, a short squeeze where most of everything high beta will push higher, okay? And then they start to focus on, and I'm talking about they, meaning the flow we see coming on a day-to-day basis. We see this started gravitating to individual names, okay? A quick example, we got, there's a ton of tech flow we've been seeing. Tech is almost always a leader in the markets, right? When we're pushing higher. But then we'll get, bullish activity and good-looking activity in the name like TECK, TECK. Okay, so even though it may not be a sector play, and there's not much flow anywhere else in the sector, they're looking for outperformance in that particular name. All right, so I think that's important. One, it will help us out on the sentiment front, meaning, we were in a market where sentiment trumped all, and we needed, I know me, myself, and a lot of members who follow sentiment religiously, we wouldn't click the buy button unless we had sentiment on our side. Okay, that was the type of environment we were in. That was the climate. Okay, that's the playbook for that climate. Now, because the climate has changed out there, the flow has changed out there, now you don't need bullish sentiment to buy a name like TECK. Okay, you just want to look at sentiment, make sure it's not overheated in a sense, but you can see outperformance in a name like TECK that hasn't moved, even though there's some other things out there that have been, overheated to the upside. All right, so that's the good thing about rotation and why it's important. It puts a floor in the market. There's support in the market, because what we're going to see happen here, okay, it's the inevitable. It's only a matter of when. some of these tech names that have just gone bonkers, right? Chinese names, whatever the hell they are. Eventually, money's going to come out of these things. They're going to allow them to breathe, and it's going to start going elsewhere. Okay, and some of maybe it could be same sector, could be in the tech sector, but names that have been lagging. Could be semiconductor names that really haven't performed as well. Okay, or it could be in different sectors, obviously. All right, and I think that's important here because I like to use the phrase the playbook. I think it's important first off to know what type of climate based on the stuff you have faith in, your signals. For me, it's flow and sentiment, and that's it. In what you're seeing, and come up with a game plan. And right now, that's the game plan for myself. And I stress to members, keep an eye closely on the individual names out there and the quality action. Okay, it's all about the setups. Even though some things may be overheated to the upside, if some good-looking sweeper activity starts to pour in to other stuff that's set up nicely, start looking to those names. So that's what we're seeing right now as a whole. We can go over a few of those names we're seeing action in. There's been a ton of action out there. Some really big winners. Some names that really haven't even performed, to be honest. Okay, but there's been a lot of big winners, and that's where you got to understand. And I think it's a problem amongst a lot of retail traders. They get all hung up on one stock. Okay, and if that one stock goes, they think their signals are invincible. So in other words, they come into the steam room for the first week, they make money, they think there's nothing better than flow on the face of the earth. Okay, but if they happen to put on a losing trade, their first trade, all of a sudden it goes to the opposite extreme. This shit don't work. What the hell am I wasting my money and time for? Okay, but we were talking about this a little bit in the room today. I think the most important thing, once you get used to a loser in this game, once you get used to the fact that you're going to have a loser and losers, and it's about bouncing back and net having more winners than losers, that's when you start to see the light. Okay, that's when you start to see the light. And here's a perfect example, okay, because we come out of a phase where everybody was bearish. All right, but the stuff that we focus on was telling us to be bullish. All right, and now that everything is working out, now traders get the impression that everything they're touched is going to end up being a winner, and that's where they get into trouble. Okay, that's where they get sloppy and get into trouble. But a perfect example is like this thing that has done nothing since the actions come in, IGT. Okay, and they keep hitting it, and they're buying blood, and when they buy blood, a lot of times they're early. But if you're holding your hat on flow being the end all on IGT performing, you see where you can get into trouble, right? And if you come in and just focus on IGT and when IGT is going to work and why it's not working, that's when you run into the hurdles in this game we play. All right, but net the way I look at things, and I own IGT. Okay, I got a decent position in IGT, so I'm not happy it's not performing. But you look net at some of the other names that caught similar action, and you had some enormous winners. Okay, enormous winners. We all know the IQ. I'm not going to start rattling names here. You guys know exactly all the names we've been discussing throughout this rally from the lows. Okay, so this is where I think and the market we're seeing right now, where I think the focus is on the individual names. I think that's the approach we have to take. Look for individual names that are set up well. Don't put your eggs all in one basket, rely on one stock, one particular name, because you think it caught the best flow and that needs to work out, otherwise you're dead. But big picture wise, you should see more winners than losers. And if you're managing your money properly, you should be profitable. Okay. And again, like we discussed in the room today, it may, burst your flames as far as becoming a multimillionaire in 6 months. Okay. That dream may go out the window, but this is reality. Okay. And the opposite of this is you're coming off 3-4 straight winners because you got lucky and caught a market rally here and thinking that will never end because it's only a matter of time. All right. And because here's the thing, this is what you're going to see too. And it's not everybody, because there's a lot of legitimate traders out there that know what they're doing, okay, that make money consistently. But you go onto social media now, everybody has become a genius on the long side again. Okay. And it's the same crowd that was talking about a market breakdown at the lows, So when you make money in this environment, just be humble, understand the primary reason why. You caught a rally, a lot of the market's pushing higher, and just always keep, your focus on risk management. All right, but the market looks solid. I'm sure there'll be pullbacks along the way. I'm sure we're a Trump headline away from one. Okay, but for me, I'm focusing on the individual name flow out there. And as long as I see quality action coming into names that are set up nicely. And what I mean by set up nicely, guys, okay, I'm no technicals guy, you know that. I'm talking about solid buying coming into consolidation or names off a pullback. Okay, I'm not talking about the continuous smaller tack on flow that comes into a name like an IQ up here. Okay, that's not my cup of tea. You guys know that. The initial activity in IQ, that was the spot. You missed it totally, no big deal. There'll be others. I can promise you that. All right, so as long as we see quality come into quality setups, things are looking good. All right, and again, you have any questions about anything I'm referring to, you could fire away here. Let's get into the questions. First of all, before we shoot into that, I had a couple questions on this here, just so I hit. Here's where the squeezometer closed today. I posted it on private Twitter for those of you who were asking. So a little bit on the hotter side, we got down to about neutral off that market fade today. So you can see it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. But we finished a little bit on the hotter side. And here's the point I want to make. If this thing floats around here, okay, and as the market pushes higher, you can't expect this thing to be down here. Okay, it's not going to happen. We were in a corrective phase. That's why we saw this thing set up nice signals, in a correction. But if this thing's around neutral, and as long as you're seeing that quality sweeper activity come into good setups, don't be afraid of hitting the buy button. The worst that's going to happen, you touch a loser. And there's going to be a loser along the way anyway. All right, so it's all about, again, the flow and the setups here more than anything else. Now, if you see this thing bucking 80, it's probably prudent not to really buy something that's hot right now, okay? Because it's telling you probably get a better entry if you wait a day or so. All right, but I'm talking about in neutral land here. Don't get too hung up on it, because I'm telling you from experience. We were talking about this on the webinar, the members only webinar over the weekend. I'm telling you from experience, what happened to me was sentiment works so well in chop and a correction that I got too stuck on it when that correction came to an end. I wouldn't buy anything unless I had buy signals on the sentiment side. And I missed a ton of a rally. So I'm telling you from experience, my feeling on these things. All right, and here you guys can glance on some of the size out there. I'm not a big size guy, as you guys know, especially on the block end. But these are some of the size orders, call side today that traded offer. A lot of retail action. Today would have been a picture perfect rotation type event or flow into retail if retail wasn't hot to begin with. There's been some solid flow in select retail names. They've been, excuse me, they've been scorching. So it kind of took away from that a little bit today. But we saw some decent looking orders. Best Buy got hit again today. September sweep, a big one. LB, Victoria's Secret, that caught fire off some action. Macy's had a big move today. Just a bunch of them. Kohl's early on. I haven't looked at it in the afternoon. All right. I didn't buy anything today in my swing account. I bought one name. You're probably going to laugh. This STNG, the next dry ships, we're calling it. All right. Don't tell anybody I told you so. Little $3 jammy jam. But I bought some stock, tucked it away, and not a trade. There's been a ton of flow in this thing, STNG. It's a shipper. Don't ask me anything else beyond that. All right. Let me. They started buying it from $2, so I'm a little late. But I missed a couple of the cheapies. There's been some $2, $3 stocks with a ton of flow. And we see that when like the small caps are moving, and I kind of missed a good chunk of them. So today I decided to buy some stock in this STNG and give it some time. You may want to wait for a little consolidation here, maybe. It's a $3 stock. So I don't think you have to get too cute with it. And you hope to get a little lucky. If you're looking on the option end, good question. October's was the month in strikes they were plowing into today. October $4 calls. I used to be small cap Jesus. No, but you guys know the story. My best years of my career came off a small cap rally when the NASDAQ tech bubble blew up. So I'm ready. Small caps are outperforming. I'm ready. Not only small caps, we're talking micro caps too. So I'm ready. But yeah, good point, Ani. Good point. All right. So that's the only thing I took for a swing today. In other words, that I bought today. For me, it wasn't a terrific buying day. A lot of things are hot. A lot of things have moved. A lot of the best looking order flow out there is in names that already caught flow and took off. I see you guys talking about ROKU. You've had some good looking flow in that ROKU. I keep pulling up. Oh, I got the same thing up. What am I doing here? I got two of the same. This ROKU, you guys remember we were talking about this. ROKU usually catches, these 3,000 contract order, 15-cent jammies, cheap lotto spec action. I hate that stuff. Okay. ROKU has been seeing some legitimate sweeper activity and, hasn't really gone nuts, but has been a really nice rally, has given you opportunities to get in where you didn't have to chase. And I know a couple of you, I think, Ani, you're in it, right? This ROKU. I know a couple guys who are, got nice little hits in this ROKU. And they were sweeping this thing all day. Right from the morning, there was some chatter. I think Jack Ma of Baba was having a beer with the ROKU CEO, or I don't know what the hell the rumor was. But this thing caught sweeper activity right from the get-go and throughout the whole day. So you got really strong action out there in names you guys like to trade. But yeah, ROKU, I wouldn't chase here. like I said, I would wait for a little bit of a pullback like this, little pause, if you're looking to get in now. But again, I'm more focused on new names here, new names. There's been some real nice winners. This TECK, anybody in this TECK? I like this TECK. Just the name in general does well off sweeper activity. And, oh yeah, William, I know you're in it. They always hit this thing at the right spot. They hit it down here, had this nice ramp, okay, then took a breather here, and they hit it even harder here. And, look at it, already a tradable move here, real nice move. All right, so that's what I want to see. I want to see order flow like that coming in, because that's what gets me excited. All right, so again, here are the names. Let me just run through them quick, because there wasn't too much that got me excited here. Baba, sees flow every day, Baba, so nothing special today there. The only other order here that was somewhat interesting is this one, DVMT. It comes post earnings. The only thing I'm not crazy about is coming off a little bit of a move here. You know what I mean? But again, as far as decent order, it was a decent order. Decent order. So, we're seeing a lot of these tech names that look like this. ADI, I didn't buy that because it came into a green day. Look at this thing just continue to push higher. And we still got some semiconductors that really didn't participate much. So maybe the action will start to heat up there. All right, before I start rambling on I could do this for hours. You guys know me. Let me get to some questions here. Let me scroll back to get to the beginning because there were some decent questions on trading and strategy. All right, so Nicholas is asking, any chance can you start off with going through what helps you pull the trigger on trades? All right, Nick, this is basically, for me, again, it's hard to give a blanket answer there, okay? Even though I know that would be the easiest way, and that's what people want to hear. They want to hear, like a Jesse Livermore statement that applies to everything and every trader out there, and that's bullshit. All right, for me, for swing trades, okay, I'm really selective when it comes to swing trading. Okay, I day trade off the action throughout the day. Okay, and separately, in a separate account, I selectively swing trade in what I feel is coming off some of the best order flow, and not even the best order flow and names I like, but it's all legitimate order flow. I'm not swing trading some weekly spec action type stuff. Okay, I'll day trade it, but I'm not swing trading it. Okay, I don't need to cover the whole entire globe. All right, and that's when I'm at my best. All right, so for me, what I like to swing trade, like this TECK would have qualified for a swing trade for me. Okay, even though I didn't. Okay, it was one of the names I didn't. But it would. Why? Because off a pullback, right? I don't want to chase a rally. Okay, I'm not a momentum player. I'm looking to get in out of consolidation or a pullback. Okay, so decent order flow of a pullback. So TECK here caught action off a pullback. It was legitimate action. That would be swing trade worthy for me. Okay, and a lot of times in the room, I'll mention what action swing trade worthy. Okay, even though a lot of traders, it goes in one ear and out the other for good reason, because they got their own strategy. They could be trading off technicals. They're trading off Elliott waves. They're trading off DeMark signals. They're trading off a million different things. So what applies for me, wouldn't apply to them. Okay, but if you're looking to trade just off the flow, okay, and nothing else, you're not using anything else with it, what I would suggest is you look for quality action coming into consolidation or pullbacks. And that's where I would start if you're new to this. trading off sweeper activity. All right. It will make you much more selective. You will be participating in the best action, and you won't be chasing. Okay. So you don't have to worry about necessarily, oh, the rally fizzled out after a day. I didn't get a chance to sell and it fell apart on me. All right. You're still going to have losers. That's part of the game no matter what. But net, if you trade off that alone, you're managing your money correctly, you're going to be profitable. And then from that point, that's where you need to figure out, the sizing, what size you feel comfortable with. So any swing traders trading off flow, I suggest you start small. Okay, really small, so you don't have to stress yourself out if a stock is down 2 days after you bought it. Okay, and focus on the top tier activity out there. Okay, and that would be my opinion. All right, so, and again, there's a good amount of it out there now, and sometimes we get into those pullback corrective phases in the market where you're going to be sitting on your hands for some time. But again, that makes you disciplined as a swing trader. If there's no top shelf activity out there, you shouldn't be buying anything anyway. So that's for me. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I go based off swing trading. Day trading, I use a different approach where if I think the order flow is going to create some sort of momentum in the stock, I'm willing to day trade it. But it's easier to manage your risk when you're day trading, So it's a lot different. Jackie's asking, do I use the TTM squeeze indicator? No. It's funny. Every time somebody mentions an indicator that they may have used with flow, I always I slap it on here. You could see I got some stuff on here. I never really get a chance to really look into it. But I've heard members use that TTM squeeze. I don't know much about it though, to be honest. I don't know much about it. What else we got? Do you track your personal Twitter stats as a sentiment indicator? No. Well, basically, the majority of sentiment stuff I look at religiously is all based off the options market. And the reason I do that, players are speculating, they're putting their money where their mouth is, right? I could say I'm bullish, but am I really bullish? Do I have any money behind that bet? Right? So what I love about, again, guys, I'm not an options player. I've been an equities guy my whole entire career and dabble in options. Okay? But the reason why I have been fascinated with flow and options indicators is because you're getting real-time information. Real-time information, both on sentiment and flow. So I know some of you look at big block trades in equity. Okay. If you had a pretty good idea whether these blocks were being bought, that would be useful information, right? If you knew that, if you were, again, you never know for certain, but if you were pretty sure that these option blocks that were going off were buyers. So that's what we see in the option market. We're seeing aggressive buying that we have a pretty good idea that player's making a certain bet on the name. All right, so that's why I'm drawn to options flow and the options market in general when it comes to this stuff. And on the sentiment side, the same thing. If players are scrambling for puts, okay, whether they're putting on protection or they're betting on a downside move in the market, what does that tell us sentiment-wise? Right? That tells us there's fear out there. There's legitimate fear. It's not some survey. players are really fearful enough that they're speculating on downside in the options market. So that's why I think it works so well. That's why I think it works so well. So yeah, everything I basically look at for the most part is based off flow in the options market. All right. Wall Street, Jesus, can the sweepers that show up on the wise guy alerts be closing orders? Yes, they could be. And I'll give you an example, Nicholas. There's a good number of them. Blocks. Okay, you guys know I'm a sweeper guy, right? I'm not a big block guy. But a lot of times you will see blocks trade on the offer and they could close. Okay, that's, again, you may not, some of you, I know a lot of you do, but some of you may not realize that even though you're seeing people on social media post, oh, big buyer again in XYZ, that could be a player closing that position. It doesn't matter, traded on the offer. That's not the tell all when it comes to flow. All right, so, but that's what, you're in here, and why you're a member is for me to dig through that information. Okay, that's why initial activity, Nicholas, is the most important activity that you're going to come across. Okay, because a lot of this repeat activity, we don't know for sure. Like you said, it could be closing, it could be players rolling positions, right? Nobody takes that into account anymore. We see it, I'm not going to mention names, but we see it on CNBC and stuff like that too. Oh, there was a big buyer again in XYZ. Yeah, I mean, but what about the big position he just closed for June? And he actually took profits on the combination. He sold June calls, put some money in his pocket, and bought some Julys. You can't just look at the July order. So that's why, Nicholas, I stress from day one, the initial activity is where it's at. Okay. All the repeat action that we see, it will get you excited if you're in a name. It will create momentum a lot of times in the name on an intraday basis. Okay. But as far as you initializing a swing position based off that, you can't do it. You can't do it and expect to find success. It's initial activity. It's initial activity. There's nothing better than when a sweeper comes in firing missiles and opens a brand new strike all on its own. There's nothing better. Nothing cleaner than that. And that's the stuff I try to focus on. Like I mentioned, I swing trade, selectively. That's the stuff I'm looking to swing trade. And the thing is, Nick, you're probably saying, well, why not just pay attention to that? Because initially we were going to do that. Okay. It cuts out a lot of the noise, but a lot of the noise can be very useful and profitable. You know what I mean? Like when you see, let's say, flow explode, I'll give you an example. Well, ROKU, there was a lot of opening activity. A Facebook, anything. If we see a bunch of orders come in on a Facebook, okay, bing, 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 and aggressively being hit, that activity may not all be fresh new buying, but it will create momentum in the marketplace. You'll see it right in front of your eyes. So for day trading purposes, it helps. It helps. Eric, who goes by Norse in the room, is saying underbelly swings is my favorite. Just so you know, that's my favorite too. That's my favorite too. And what Eric is talking about are names under the hood, okay, that do not catch activity normally and all of a sudden they start to, get hit with action. And it doesn't have to be under the radar names. For me, underbelly, I include some, like a Square was an underbelly play. It may not fit the bill now, but Square, wasn't a big FANG high beta name. Started off as an underbelly play. Eric brought up that Hubs. I don't know if you guys remember that. But that was, an underbelly name. I mean, $100 stock. I've never heard anybody mention this thing before. Shit, I didn't even know it existed before some action in it. Right, Grub, another animal. So these have always been my favorite names, especially like we're talking about that initial activity when they just start to catch action. IQ. IQ, again, just came public, but it's not a well-known name, not a ton of activity there. WWE, Samir, geez, how could I forget that? So you can see here, and a lot of people chiming in, Weight Watchers, and that the list goes on and on. And the reason why these are the best guys is not all of them, but I'm a bad example, okay? So maybe you guys could do it. If you give yourself enough time, okay? A lot of times what will happen is WWE will catch, let's say, a September-October sweep. And, people might trade it and flip it. A lot of people will ignore it. But if you can give the bet and milk it and give it time like that, this is what can happen at times, if you're in the right market. Not all the time, but this is where I see it happen the most, where you get these just explosions, explosions. So, and why I think it happens is because this is my impression, that the smart money, AKA funds, institutions, the Elliott managements of the world, that whole crew, their eyeballs are on it now, and that's where these things can get crazy. I saw Weight Watchers up again today. I thought maybe that rally was coming to an end at one point, but geez, some of these things don't stop. But yeah, I agree, Eric. That's my favorite activity. We don't get it as often as we'd like. You need the right market for it too. So that's the issue there. Here's a name, by the way, like I would put in that underbelly spot that I really wanted to see a missile come in. It never did, but there's been some action there, and maybe they still come. Maybe there's another breather here before this thing busts out, and then we'll see, another real deal order. But this is my cup of tea. This is my cup of tea before everybody and their mother is hopping on the train. I really don't want to be chasing a move like that. DBX, was that Dropbox, right? Dropbox. Excuse me. Yeah, so the only problem with these things, guys, some of these things, and I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but for some it may be. I know Lucci hates these things. Why? Because he likes to size up. Okay? He likes to put on size and then keep a close eye on it. That type of thing. Where these things are more structured for, all right, I'm gonna WWE, I'm gonna buy some WWE Octobers, and I'm putting in what I'm willing to lose. That's my stop loss. And I'm looking to catch a nice ticket. All right, because it's not, for Lucci needs liquidity. For you to put on size and keep a close eye to be able to take out some scratch trades at times, you need the liquidity there. You can't do it in a lot of these names. That's why when you hear Lucci size up, it's in a Microsoft, it's in a Bank of America, it's in a Facebook. It's the liquidity's got to be there. But that narrows down obviously what you can play. You can't play a lot of these things. So you can play Micron. You got a decent list, but the underbelly you won't be able to play that way because it's not happening. You can't scratch in, scratch out of WWE. The market makers will make mashed potatoes out of you. But at the same time, for you equity players out there, these names are as liquid as the sea. Okay? So don't get the wrong impression that just because the options are illiquid, that the stock is illiquid. The stocks are legit. All these stocks are legit. It's just the options aren't liquid. Yeah, they all trade nice volume. Here's one. Have you anybody in this thing? FDC. This one looks really good. I think I told you guys the story here. They were buying initially July and Jan calls for quite a bit. Okay, I think they bought here and they bought here on the way down. This thing looked like it didn't have a pulse. They all had time, a lot of time, okay, behind their bets, and then it finally busted out. So now there's some eyeballs on the name. They came back in after a little breather here on Friday. They stormed back in some Julys, June and Julys. And what's going on, there's an analyst day, I think coming up, I don't know the exact date, towards the end of this month, I think. And what I'm hearing is that analyst day is, I can't zoom that. The analyst day is starting to attract some real excitement. And I think this FDC is considered a PayPal type, right? Is it in that group? It's in that group, right? Yeah. So, keep your eyes on this name if you're a payment processor yet. Keep your eyes on this name if you're not in it already. Don't chase. Again, there's no reason to chase out there, especially if you're playing any short dated stuff. But if you get a dip, intraday dip, you may have an entry there. I bought some stock and I have July calls. I sold half the stock position today. So I got half my equity position and I got July calls that I'm going to try to milk. In other words, I'm going to try to not get shaken out of them and ride it till the analyst day. I'm willing to let them go to zero. I'm not worried about that. If I get a pop from here, someone's going to tie up my arms that I don't sell it. That's the problem. That's my problem. What else? Did I miss anybody's question? Because I'm bad at scrolling them here. Anybody? LRCX. Yeah, that had a little dip today? I think so, right? This looks appetizing. I'm not going to lie to you. This looks pretty good. Now, I always want more. That's an issue I got. But if this thing caught like a real bet right here, I would definitely swing it. I can't swing any action. You know what I mean? Once I take the needle, I'll go nuts. I don't want to go nuts. But if this thing caught, Bill, like a tech type bet, I would definitely swing it. This is my cup of tea here, because what I like is what I like. You had this ramp and you had this chop here with a lot of nice shakeouts in the middle. So it looks good. I would just need one good nice bet to confirm. Now, that being said, okay, anytime, and I think this is why there was quite a few people who actually were looking at the LRCX. Anytime you get weakness and they sweep weakness, you almost instantly get that snapback trade. You know what I mean? So I think here was weak, and then you can see bink, bink, came right back 2 days. So you get that short-term trade. But for bigger here, if this catches a nice order or an aggressive round of sweeper activity. This is set up really nice. You know, like look at this name compared to some of the other semis out there. You know, breathing nicely. You know, maybe different types of semis. I know like this ADI, I wish it looked like that off that order. I wish I could flip-flop them. I wish the ADI sweeper came into that LRCX setup. That's what would be ideal. I passed on this ADI because it came into highs, and she just keeps going higher, I guess. What else we got here? Melissa saying, so if I see a big sweep further out and I tag along, what is the best way to follow, track the buyer so I can tell her? Melissa, you know, that's where it gets tricky. All right. Again, I could tell you what a lot of people say and you may want to hear, but I'm going to tell you what I do and what you should do. Okay. You cannot rely on just watching open interest because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. All right. In other words, you could have, you know, let's say the PayPal. All right. Sometimes you will see them roll or adjust big positions. So we'll see what they're doing. Okay. But that's not always the case. I mean, you have this PayPal catch the action down here. You get a rally like this. Okay. And I see it. A lot of people are saying, well, I'm not selling until that guy sells. But how do you know he's not buying puts to protect his profits here? How do you know he's not shorting the stock? You understand? So what I recommend you do on the type of trades you're talking about is once you put on the trade now goes according to your plan. Nothing changes that. You understand? Now it goes according to your rules. And what I mean by that is, if you say, all right, I'm looking for 82 bucks, then that's what you're looking for, Melissa. If you're saying, you know, I got a nice profit here, you know, I'm going to raise a stop loss type of thing, if that's your approach, then that's what you're looking to do. You know, if you know, let's say you didn't catch a rally and you said, whatever I put into the calls, that's what I'm willing to lose, then that's what you do. If you had a stop loss, then that's what you do. Don't deviate from that. Because at the end of the day, Melissa, when it comes to this game, that has to be done for you to find success anyway. You cannot mirror these guys. You don't have, and no offense to you, but you don't have the ammo these guys have. These guys can ride out drawdowns. They can roll out positions till they turn purple in the face. We've seen it time and time again. You know, they can buy on the way down until we go broke. So once you put on your initial position, you got to have some sort of game plan and rules, you know, some sort of structure that you're going off of. All right. So again, to keep it simple, the easiest way, okay, I'm just keeping it bland here. All right. Just so everybody understands, a strategy for swing trading options could be on putting 10 grand behind each swing, and I'm willing to lose 10 grand. That's my stop loss. You understand? So now on the profit side, if you know what you're risking, you know what you need to look for on the upside for you to become profitable off that strategy. And then you'll see the true colors out of what you're doing. You know, if there's no rhyme or reason and you're just out there, you know, flinging buy sell tickets and there's no structure behind it, you know, you're going to get lucky, you make some money. Then that luck will run out, you get hit over the head, you'll be disgusted, and, you know, case closed. So again, Melissa, I wish there was an easier answer, a simple answer to give you. You know, this is what you have to do, but there really isn't. Okay. And one of my problems, I have a quick trigger finger. I sell everything I do way too quick. You know, the only way I can write out winners is if I go far out enough, and even that I have trouble doing. So, but everybody's different. You know, everybody's different. What else we got here? Tesla, Baidu, Apple weekly sweepers opinion, please. Is this Kimchi? Kimchi, is that you? Pablo, Tesla, Baidu, Apple sweepers opinion, please. I don't have an opinion. By the way, Baidu, you know, same thing there, right? And this is what will not get you wrapped up in the stresses. Okay, I'll give you an example. Baidu, all right, there was some buying into the weakness here. Okay, August. Now, and I see there's more active traders that are in the room that love to play. They're degenerates, all right. Believe it or not, most of them make money too, but they're degenerates. And you know, they got to catch it in weeklies. They got to catch it this. They got to catch it that. But that's not for a lot of you guys starting out. You don't want to get involved in that. Trust me, you do not want to get involved in that. Okay, so very simple. You keep it simple. You like Baidu off a pullback, okay? Right? You were tempted to chase this move. You did the right thing. You didn't. You got the pullback. You got an August sweeper confirming. You heard me say that's a legit August sweeper there that's swingable. You put in your order, and that's it. There's no reason to overthink it at that point. If it's a loser, it's a loser. You know, if it works out before August, it's a winner. You know, but instead of worrying, the way people get in trouble, you know what, August, that's too far out. I'm gonna put on June calls. Okay? And then what happens? Nothing happens. It's just the stock doesn't do much, right? Floats a little bit lower for the next couple days. And now, because June is only a couple weeks away, I got to get out of this Baidu. This thing's not doing anything. Not doing anything. 2 days into the bet, right? 2 days into the bet, Baidu's not doing anything, this piece of shit. And then this happens, and you want to jump off the Verrazano Bridge. You guys don't know the Verrazano Bridge. You know what I'm talking about. The Brooklyn Bridge. All right, so you want to keep it simple. You want to keep it simple for those of you, again, who are just looking for a strategy to start to find, you know, you want to find some consistency. You want to figure out something on your end. You keep it nice and easy. All right, somebody knows Staten Island. That's the best way to approach these things, okay? That's the best way to approach it. All right, if you stop worrying, because you know what it is? The June calls, the weeklies, they're cheaper, right? Everybody's thinking, 1,000%. Everybody wants to pick up the big money. But listen, that's fine. More risk comes into play that way. If you're new, and if you're a new member out there, you shouldn't even be thinking about trading that way. It's a disaster. Not only that, you're going to pull your hair out of your head. That's when this game doesn't become fun anymore, when you get stressed out over stuff like that. Nicholas is asking a good question. Why do you show small sweeps? What's the purpose of that? That's a great question. Because a lot of times the small sweepers, not all of them, okay, but the small sweepers will put my eyeballs on something bigger that may materialize. All right. So a lot of times they're small sweepers, but when small sweepers keep sweeping, they end up big sweepers. All right. That's one main reason. Two, small sweepers, again, we're talking about sweepers, not just small blocks, but sweepers will create momentum on an intraday basis as well. All right. So for day trading purposes, I'll give you an example. All right, let's use this today as an example. Here's an example. Okay, retail's hot, right? All right, so retail's hot today. We know retail's hot. The flow is looking for different retail names to plow into. Could be shorts getting squeezed for all we know, okay? But it's pretty evident that retail's in play momentum-wise. All of a sudden, we see some small sweeper activity come into LB, Victoria's Secret. Small sweepers, okay? So now if I'm day trading, the way I would look at it or may look at it is as, oh shit, LB, that's a retail play. Small sweeper starting to hit there. Maybe there's momentum coming into that name. All right. So it allows you to get into position, place a stop, and a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, there'll be more activity coming in. And lo and behold, LB caught 4 size blocks after those small sweeps. Okay? Now, if you waited to buy the blocks, you would have had to chase a little higher. Where the small sweeps were getting your eyeballs at the least on top of it, on it before that happened. So, oh, Pablo, I thought you were joking. Weeklies, I would not play weeklies, Pablo. If you're new to options, I would not trade weeklies. No. I mean, it's straight up gambling unless that's what you want to do. If that's what you're looking to do, that's what you're looking to do. All right, but going back to the small sweeps, there doesn't mean every small sweep is actionable. Okay, another example, I don't know if you guys remember last week. Those of you who are in the room probably remember. Those of you who are not have no idea what I'm talking about. But Facebook caught some small sweeper activity in the morning. Then they hit it again. Then they hit it again. It was pretty obvious Facebook was in play for that day. So it allowed you to get in before that big wave. A lot of times the small sweepers are telling you what's going to take place in flow before it materializes and gets everybody's eyeballs on it. Small sweepers are involved in everything. You just may not realize it. Now, for swing trading purposes, it may not be as big of a deal for you. But for day trading, small sweeps are crucial. I couldn't ignore small sweepers. We see now they front run bigger action constantly. And again, what's your definition of a small sweeper? We see 200, 300 lot sweepers that are a $500,000 bet. We see 300 lot sweepers that end up equaling 20,000 contracts traded by the end of the day. So it all depends on your definition of small sweeper. Again, sweeper, as long as they're swept, I want to know about it. GDX put seller, yep. You had some GDX put selling. But what I think even more important well, not important, but what caught my eye, the Nugget had a decent looking sweep Friday. You know, it's an ETF, so I don't get as excited as a name per se, but you know, if you like the miners, definitely confirmation. Do you look for anything particular that would prevent you from buying something you like based on flow? Well, I don't buy anything, Nick, that doesn't catch sweeper activity. If that's what you mean. I will never. I can't remember the last time I bought an individual name that didn't have any sweeper activity. So I don't know if that answers your question. Oh, something that already had sweeps. Earnings, earnings. I don't play earnings. That's a big thing. If a biotech, has FDA date coming up or something like that, I don't like events like that. Eric saying if it's up a stick, I hate chasing. So I rarely, if ever, will swing anything into bright green. I will always wait for a pull. I like buying red. Depending. I mean, if something's up 25 cents, yeah, that's not a big deal. But, for example, like Roku, okay? This might answer your question, Nick. Roku, today the action was off the chain, right? Nuts. I'm not going to swing trade Roku here. In other words, I'm not going to start a position here. See, the way I usually look at it is this. Roku back here, remember, had that news? I told you guys this when it happened. Roku had big news, okay? I had everybody asking me, any Roku sweepers? Any Roku sweepers? The stock was up 5. And, I was even saying that day, even if there were sweepers, plus 5, what the hell do you want that for? What are you going to do with that? Lo and behold, the next day, it was down 5. And you know what? Not only did it catch sweeper activity, it caught the best looking sweeper activity that I've seen in Roku. And it was just so hard for people to buy it there. But that's the difference, Nick. Here I'm a buyer. Here I'm not. And for options, especially options when you got time on your side, it's always nice to have that cushion, because when sweepers support a name, usually, not all the time, but usually you get these snapbacks. I'll give you an example like LRCX. Okay, I'm not a big fan of buying it when the stock's up 3, but you get a pullback and you get some sweeper activity there, I think it's worth a shot. Because even if if that bet's not right, a lot of times you get this. So you got some cushion there. So I'm a big fan of buying weakness, as a lot of you know. Blood's a different story now. Buying blood, as you often hear me say, is different, okay? Because buying blood, you're buying in the teeth of heavy selling. IGT is buying blood. And a lot of times, almost always, some exceptions, you're going to be early. You're going to be early. So you're going to have to sit through some pain. Not all the time, but a lot of times. You guys see, oh, yeah, Always see me use the example EA when they were buying the blood back here. You remember? So similar to like IGT, EA, they started buying it here. Okay? And it just continued to sell off that Star Wars nonsense. As it sold, they came in and bought more. They bought more. They bought more. It still continued to sell. Finally bottomed out, and this chart doesn't even do it justice. Even after this squeeze back to where they initially bought it, it still looked like crap. But they were buying blood. They had time. As a matter of fact, they were Junes. So that was for this month back then. And, you know, look what happened. So try to sit through watching the daily ticks on a swing in all this mess. You're going to drive yourself insane. The only way you can do it is say, all right, I'm buying Junes. I may be early. Maybe I'll add if there's a little more weakness. I know how much I want. You know, I'm willing to let them go to zero. And if it works out, this is what I'm going to get. Yeah, I mean, IGT is still that until it's not. I mean, listen, it may be a loser. I wish I could tell you guys and, you know, ahead of time and guarantee you whether this thing's going to be a loser or not. I don't know. You know, but it fits the same bill where, you know, they're buying blood. They keep coming back. They're early. And we'll see if we find out the reason why they were buying it. You know, could they be wrong? These guys lose too. Yeah, of course. Of course they could. You know, even PayPal, you guys probably don't remember. You never remember it after they work out, right? It doesn't feel as much pain. PayPal, they started buying here, right here. And then whoop, got punched in the face over Amazon news, and they bought even more down here. That didn't last too long. But that also had the help of the market rally. That was one of the first big action names, PayPal, if you remember. Webinar with Mazamasa talked about a set it and forget it strategy while looking for a double that has really helped me. Yeah, Peter, again, it's a preference thing. You know, I hate to push stuff that's worked for me because people are wired differently. But yeah, there are a lot of option players I know. Because you guys don't, I hope you realize options is a tough game, man. It's a tough game. There's not a lot of successful option players out there. It's not like equities. It's a different game. You got to predict the time too. It's a big difference. All right. So, and the big problem with options is that allure of those percentage gains. Oh, but if I buy weeklies and catch the move now, I can hit it big. Even though that money you make, you won't remember 3 weeks from now. You know, the allure of those big percentage gains. But every successful option trader I know has some sort of strategy in place, you know, where they're not stressing every little move. Especially in these markets, you get a Trump headline. You know, I see people thinking the market's ready to collapse, Armageddon, of one little whoosh intraday. Yeah, Pablo, I would, honestly, I'm being honest with you. I would, if you're new to options, and that's what you're telling me, Pablo, okay, I would stay away from weeklies. Okay, straight up gambling, unless that's what you're looking to do, gamble, have some fun. You're not getting rich off weeklies. I don't know anybody. I'm in this game 20 plus years. I haven't met anybody who told me I'm a multimillionaire trading weeklies. Not one. All right. And if you want to find success with options, I think you have to take the approach that you would take on the equity side, where you're swinging with some time. Just your money management's got to be a little bit different. But options, I mean, weeklies are, you want to be in and out of weeklies. You lose money just breathing in weeklies. What are your thoughts on selling premium? Georgia, I get that question a lot. We have a lot of guys who do sell premium. Lucci likes to sell premium. The reason I don't talk about it much, if you don't know what you're doing, in my opinion, you shouldn't be doing it. That's my opinion. If you never sold a put before, don't start doing it now. Do some homework on it, take a course on it, know what kind of risk you're taking before you start doing it. Okay? Because people make it sound easy. The most amount of blowups I've seen throughout my career have come off naked put selling. Everybody I've come across that sold puts and were finding success, never had a clue what they were doing, blew themselves up, out of the game, blown up. All right, but there is money to be made. A lot of professional traders trade successfully and have a strategy selling premium, especially off flow. Especially off flow. Like if you know what you're doing and a name is seeing aggressive call activity, think about it. Selling puts is not a bad way to go, but you need to understand how to unravel the risk if it goes against you. See, people never think about, what about if it doesn't work out the way you're planning it? Yeah, Kim makes a good point. Selling spreads, that would be probably what you would start off with initially. But I'm not saying, Georgia, that you don't know. Maybe you do know. Maybe you are familiar with selling premium. I'm just saying the reason why I don't talk about it as much. But without a doubt, it can be a successful strategy with flow. Without a doubt, Georgia. Yeah, and Tim's saying like he would look, you could sell, you see a put seller come in, instead of selling those puts, you could sell a put spread. I know Lucci, like when he sees, for example, he went long Microsoft calls, but what he normally does, if he sees nonstop call activity in a Microsoft, he'll just bang the puts. But talk to Lucci about what he needs to do to get out of that trade if something backfires. So Georgia's saying, yep, that is my, oh, it's your type. All right, so there you go. Yeah, Georgia, without a doubt, again, like you mentioned, a decent strategy or flow for that singles and doubles. Exactly. That singles and doubles. Yeah, I think Lucci did a put selling webinar. He's got a course on it. I don't know, when's that course coming up? Hold on a second. Did that course start yet? The master course. By the way, you guys could go to wallstreetjesus.com. If you have any questions on anything, you'll find it all there. When is this thing? I can't keep up with everything here. But yeah, Lucci has a whole course on all that stuff. On how he uses flow, how he utilizes a put selling strategy based off tape reading and flow, all that. June 25th. Okay, so you got some time. Thank you. Let me put the link in here. Hold on. So for anybody who's interested, oops. In put selling and all that, there you go. Oh, I don't know who I sent that to. But anyway, if you go to wallstreetjesus.com, guys, you could get everything here. All right. You go to the products there and strategy section here, short blogs on everything we do here. So Pablo and anybody who's new out there, I suggest you do that. Even members, you may not know it exists. Go to wallstreetjesus.com, the strategy section. A lot of quick blogs on different ways to use this information. All right. I mean, there are traders, a good amount of traders I know that are in the room that just trade ES. They don't even trade individual names. And they trade off sentiment and flow. That's it. So there's a lot of different ways to utilize. That's the beauty of this stuff. All right. Did I miss anybody before we wrap it up? I'm running out of voice again. I got a cold breaking up, but it's even worse when it breaks up, coughing up lungs. Anybody have any last questions? Did I miss anybody? I apologize if I did. Well, you guys know where to find me. All right. Check out wallstreetjesus.com. Any more information? We got a 3-day trial, no credit card. So you can see what the hell we're doing. And then after that, 50% off the first month there. That's the whole premium package, including private Twitter. If you're just interested in private Twitter alone, you go to products, private Twitter, and put your handle in here, and you're good to go. All right. And as far as the market, I know there are a lot of members on here. You know, we'll keep an eye on sentiment. We don't want to buy when things are overheated, but I think individual names, rotation, that's what we got to keep an eye on. Like, when do they rotate back into these banks is the question. What'd they do? They closed lower today? They still look okay, these banks. They still look okay, these banks. The flow's been quiet there since that Dodd-Frank. You know, maybe they come back into these things. But there's a lot of good happening in this market. Okay, there's a lot of good. You don't want to chase, right? You don't want to start buying things that have gone parabolic. But there's been a lot of groups out there that are lagging that I think are going to present an opportunity if we see action there. So just keep your eyeballs open. Stay bullish. I'll see you guys soon. Good luck the rest of the week.